I'm keeping an eye out through our Twinians on various parts of the world, and this is particularly challenging in developing countries where often the infrastructure, healthcare, telecommunications are a little bit even more fraught for many people. But here in the United States, when we look at the data, when we really open our minds to what's going on, it's actually quite shocking how significant the divides are with respect to access to what this kind of technology is becoming a utility that everybody needs access to. So tell us a little bit first, how has the pandemic affected this digital divide issue?
The pandemic's had two interesting impacts. One, it's made it worse for a lot of people. Over 30% of American school children don't have access to the internet at a time when almost every school child is going to be doing their getting education like this. 1 out of 4 people over 65, the people who are most likely to need to stay away from other folks because of pre-existing conditions or because they're elderly, 1 out of 4 Americans, 27% who are elderly, don't have access to the internet. Folks who make over $100,000 are 16 times more likely to have broadband access than people who make less than $30,000.
Did you say 16? 1/6?
1/6 times. The very lowest income versus the very highest income, it's a 16x spread. That's the kind of problem we have in America. And you know, if you make over $100,000, about a 93% likelihood of having access. Folks under 15,000, some of those folks, you know, we're talking about below in 10% range for some of those families. This is insanity. And I'll give you another example. In my hometown of New York City, small businesses are increasingly reliant on the internet. 40% of small businesses don't have access to a gig network in New York City. They have access to maybe some kind of an inferior network, but not to the kind of capacious networks that businesses need to survive. That's in the biggest city, in the richest country on the planet. We still have 4 in 10 businesses don't have access to the internet. And you start looking at those statistics and it's horrifying. But here's the good news, because there's always time for good news. The good news is we're finally paying attention to it. The way you started it, that this is no longer a luxury, that we know people need access. We have finally gotten to the point as a country, and I think as a planet, to stop thinking about the internet and broadband as Netflix, but really understanding that it's about healthcare and education and commerce and keeping families connected. My mom is my mom's 90 years old. She's in assisted living because she can't live by herself anymore. And she can stay in touch with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren via FaceTime and via, she can't get the hugs, but she can at least get the virtual hugs. Think of all the families where the virtual hugs aren't possible, not because they don't love each other, but because they need to stay distanced to keep from infecting each other and they don't have the technology to stay connected. It's so important. And it's been important for a long time. We're just finally realizing it.